Misfits 17 is in the books. We just had a, quite frankly, solid show from Misfits and the entire crew over there. I thought we got our necessary fill of boxing fights, entertainment, controversy because it ends the influencer boxing scene, and a concert by the one and only KFI. So, let's break this entire thing down. What just happened? What are my big takeaways? Misfits 17. The biggest one, and I'll explain in a second, is that influencer boxing just got a surge of energy. Are we all the way back? I don't know, but the breakdown, let's go. All right, so like I said, Misfits 17 just wrapped up. Early morning stream here for your boy. It was over in Dublin, Ireland. And this is something we have to go ahead and talk about right off rip. The Irish crowd showed up big time. There were a lot of people in the venue as the card started, which is, normal for influencer boxing events. But, with KSI having to pull out of his fight and instead do the concert, you wondered if people were going to say, yeah, screw this, I'm not coming to the fight. I wanted to see KSI fight. He's not fighting. I'm not coming. That wasn't the case. It looked like a lot of people stayed on. I don't know what the number was, but it looked like they were sold out. All in all, the crowd showed up and they were there from the first fight on the night. DTG versus Minicon kicked it off, and this was a good fight. Minicon surprised me in a very good way. I thought he was more patient in this fight. I thought he was a bit more of a balanced boxer in this fight. He utilized his range. He stayed on his jab, and then obviously at a certain point, things got a little sloppy. And this was a 5-round fight because it is in the Misfits Cruiserweight tournament. I didn't realize that. I thought it was going to be a 4-rounder to kick things off, but whatever your opinion was, this was not a robbery in my opinion. I thought it was a close fight, and an influencer boxing 5 rounds. You're gonna have a lot of close fights unless someone's out on the canvas. Minicon moves on. I don't know how the bracket works, so I don't know who he's fighting next, if that's Josh Bruckner or if that's Le'Veon, or I don't know how the whole thing works, but he moves on in the Cruiserweight tournament. And then off the back of that, we got our first look at Mike Edwards and Jake Cornish in, again, a Misfits Cruiserweight tournament fight. And I gotta be honest, while Jake Cornish had moments here, the size difference tended to be a big deal for him to try to get to the chin of Mike Edwards. Mike Edwards was pretty damn good here. For his first fight ever, being in Misfits, 5 rounds, a pretty one-sided, dominant performance here for Mike Edwards. One of the judges had it 50-47, something like that. I don't really know how that worked, but I liked Mike Edwards in this fight. But then we had Sami Hamed versus Jesse Clark. Sami Hamed, obviously Prince Nassim Hamed's son. He was in there, and this fight, I didn't really know what to expect much from because I didn't know what either guy's skill level was, but this was a pretty damn good fight. For as long as it lasted, this was a good fight. Sami Hamed had some quick hands. He showed some glimpses of things you had seen from his father with, his hands very low, taking a lot of risks, some power in his hands, a lot of speed as well. But again, I'm not comparing him in any way, shape, or form. And even in his post-fight interview after he won, spoiler alert, he said, hey, don't compare me to my dad. We're not the same. I'm still getting my feet wet in here. I appreciated that because he's absolutely right. There's no need to compare him, even though the comparison will always be there because of who his dad is. Now, Jesse Clark showed himself well, I thought, in this fight. He was in there. He was trying to scrap. He looked outgunned, outmatched. And in the end of it, that proved to be the case because Jesse Clark was getting tuned up. His face was getting bloodied. Big right hands, left hooks, nasty punches from Sami Hamed, and eventually his corner throws the towel in. Enough was enough at that point. A good stoppage from the corner because he was getting battered and bruised. Didn't need to pick and choose his shots because he was getting hit with all of them. I think this was a good fight for Sami Hamed. Again, fair play to Jesse Clark for getting in there and mixing it up. Now, again, I don't remember where the KSI concert was. Maybe it was before that. Maybe it was right here. But he, like I said, he did his thing. KSI came out, introduced a new song I'd never heard, but played some of the classics, just trying to give the people something to hold them over. This card went a little longer than most Misfits cards do because of the fights, but also some of the things in between. We'll get to some of that in a second. But the concert was spread out. He did a piece here, and then he did something to close the show as well. But after his concert, we got Dean the Great versus Dave Fogarty. KSI on commentary. He brought a lot of energy to this fight, but the crowd brought a lot of energy to this fight. Again, Dave Fogarty being Irish, Conor McGregor's cameraman, an MMA fighter in his own right. This was for the Misfits lightweight title. In retrospect, the way this fight went, I think Dean the Great maybe should have been in that co-main event slot or somewhere higher up the card because this was a big-time fight. And by the way, Dave Fogarty, fair play to him. He brought it to Dean today. He brought it to the ring and was having some success. I thought Dean started the fight really well. You could definitely see the speed and technique difference between the two. Dean was just more precise. He was quicker. He was more twitchy. He was accurate. He does, again, and I've said this about Dean for a long time, he does fall in love with the pull right hand because he is able to draw reactions out of you and wants to capitalize. Nothing wrong with that, but I like when he mixes things up a little bit like he did in the W.A.D.E fight. And I think even Dean would tell you that he did not, at least from the outside looking in, it didn't look like he felt his best in there. It didn't look like he was as smooth. It didn't didn't look like things were clicking the way they have in some other of the fights, and that could just be ring rust. It could just be him being out of the ring for a long time, and I know he just signed the 3-fight extension with Misfits, so maybe that was weighing on him a little bit, just trying to get a contract done. Okay, now we're here, put it on the line, go get it. Now we get some fights under the belt, and we oil up the freaking cogs in the machine, and we keep going. And speaking of a machine, in this fight, it felt like Dave Fogarty was walking forward like a freaking robot. Dean would hit him with a nasty right hand, a combination, whatever. Fogarty walked right through it, and then he would even throw some combinations of his own. He was peppering Dean with the jab a little bit, and then, in certain moments, Dean would find himself up on the ropes or in the corner. And again, I think a little bit of that ring rust, potentially a little bit tired, but I'm not taking away from Dave Fogarty. Great game plan, walk forward. The problem was he was walking through shots, not avoiding them. And at a certain point, Dean can crack even at that weight class, and when you walk through shot after shot, at some point he's going to catch you, and he did. Flipped Dave Fogarty on the top of the head, put him down. And I don't know if it was the same round or the next round, but he drops him. Fogarty gets to his feet, they fight a little more, and then Dean drops him. Buzzer beater at the end of the round. Drops Fogarty at the end of the round. He got up, but I think either his corner or the referee waved it off. That was it, and that was all. And I didn't mind that stoppage because that was after he had been hit, hurt, dropped, hit, hurt, hit, hurt. He was getting tagged with stuff and then dropped again. I thought that was a good enough stoppage. And you want to know why I didn't mind it? That's because it was in no way, shape, or form as egregious as the next thing we saw. So next we had Ben Williams versus Warren Spencer. Again, I think KSI must have performed in between here. I don't remember. But Ben Williams, just after Dave Fogarty walks out to Foggy Doo, Sinead O'Connor, rest in peace. Ben Williams walks out to the same kind of thing in a different version. But again, it's Ireland, right? Two Irish guys walking out in their home country. The crowd's alive. They're there to watch Ben. Warren, the mechanic, Spencer, one of Andrew Tate's guys, he's there. And all week during this build-up, both guys looked very confident. Obviously, we know that Ben has got an amateur record and some amateur medals, I think, as well. But this one was a little shocking to me because I did not know, I was not familiar with Warren Spencer's game. This thing started quick, fast, in a hurry. First round, we're getting straight to business. Throwing bombs on the inside, dude. Just absolute hammers. Nobody trying to be the nail. Everyone trying to be the long head. Paul. Ben and Warren just trading in the pocket. Ben got the better of him with a left hook that wobbled Spencer for a second. And then they got back to trading. And the first round was fireworks, man. Both guys throwing at a high clip, super high volume, and Ben got the better of it. He won the first round. But you saw that at the end of the round, and I said this while we were watching live, that this was going to be, if it was a 4-round fight or whatever it was, it's going to be a tough fight to go 4 rounds for Ben Williams and for Warren Spencer, the way they were fighting at that high of a volume. And Ben looked to be the one that was gassing first. And I'm not saying he was out of energy completely. That's not the case. But when you looked at him between rounds, Ben was the one, breathing through his mouth solely, sitting on that stool, and Warren standing up. He's ready to go. He didn't look very tired is the point. Second round, same kind of deal. We had a back and forth fight, back and forth round, and Warren Spencer landed a big shot on Ben Williams, and Ben came back and landed a big shot on him, and that was, again, a little bit of a back and forth, some clinching here and there. This is where the controversy comes. As Ben Williams does land, I don't know if it was a right hand or a left hook, something that hurts Warren Spencer, at least, gets his attention, backs him up a little bit. Warren puts up the high guard. Here comes Ben with the right hand around the guard and the left hook in the right hand, and nothing's really landing clean. Warren Spencer's feet are under him. He's not doing the chicken dance. He's not doing the Bambi on ice. He is fully cognizant and aware of where he is. He's being defensive, but he's also not answering punches. But this is a normal occurrence when a guy starts to throw a flurry in boxing. The referee steps in and shockingly and embarrassingly, quite frankly, waves the fight off. That's it, and that's all. Right as the fight is heating up, round 2, I want to see if Ben Williams can handle 2 more rounds of that same pace. I want to see if Warren Spencer can survive this onslaught and come back. It was not in any way, shape, or form the point where you stop a fight. Warren was not in trouble of being dropped. He had gotten hit with a clean shot. He was covering up, but he was still cognizant. He was still aware. He was defending intelligently. In my opinion, this was a god-awful, dog shit stoppage. And Mams Taylor was on commentary for this portion. He got so upset. And again, this is the new judging commission and all that good stuff. So I don't know who these people are. It used to be the PBA and the ISKA. I'm not sure who this governing body was. But he got so upset that he audibly said, "Gentlemen or guys, I gotta go," puts the headset down and goes and gives a tongue lashing to the referee in front of the entirety of the arena, which, to me, I can't say he's wrong for doing, because should Mams have handled it in a more professional or different setting? Oh, maybe. But at some point, things can be handled in a blunt way to get across the frustration with what everyone is feeling and wants to say from our seats to that official. Mams did that. I have really no problem with it. Apparently, the guy was taken off of refereeing duty for the rest of the night. So fair play, W to Mams, W to Misfits. So then we had probably the biggest disappointment of the night, but I think in all honesty, this is what everyone thought was about to happen, and that is HS Tiki-Taki versus George Fensom. This was the most nothing of a fight maybe we've seen in influencer boxing in a long time. HS came in and listen, he did what he was supposed to do. He got in the ring, he fought. There was not much to take away from it. George Fensom, I don't want to be disrespectful because he did get into the ring, but he should never enter one again, especially with the performance that he gave, where he was essentially not there to fight and falling to the ground at every opportunity to do so. I get it. He was not prepared. Clearly, this was probably not the greatest matchmaking, but at the same time, don't sign to fight if you're not going to train to fight, if you're not going to put yourself in the best position to win, and you're just there for a quick payday, hit the ground 3 times, and get out of there. I will say, HS did land a nasty left hook to put him down on the last one, but George was not there to fight. He was very, very terrified. He looked like a ghost when he walked into the ring. There was no shot, and 100 times out of 100, that George was lasting more than a minute and a half. HS wins, which he should have, gets business taken care of, then gets on the mic and calls out Zerka, Jake Paul, and the Jake Paul thing is very interesting. It's a new angle from Misfits on the whole Jake Paul situation. No, I don't think HS deserves a Jake Paul fight. No, I don't think he's getting a Jake Paul fight. No, I don't think he beats Jake Paul at the current moment. I do think that he's very talented. I do think he is clearly a quick learner when it comes to the combat sports, clearly has a background of some sort, and clearly he's a good athlete. All those things combined makes for the potential of a star in this scene, as well as, you know, their following and everything else, and he seems to have that as well. But I guess the whole interesting part of it is that Mam said that in 1 year's time, HS Tiki-Taki would beat Jake in a boxing match, which is interesting that they're pushing another individual forward for Jake and not KSI. If Jake and KSI, the 2 biggest stars in the scene, they can't get a contract done, I definitely think that HS Tiki-Taki is not going to be warning any fight with Jake soon. But hey, all for the conversation, you know what I'm saying? Whatever happens, I just don't think it's a realistic option. What I do think, and what a lot of other people have said online, HS Tiki-Taki versus Chase D'Amour does make a level of sense, and that one I definitely would want to see happen next. 2 heavyweights, even though HS is a very small heavyweight. But hey man, heavyweight's heavyweight. We'll see what happens. All in all, this was an embarrassing fight from George Fensom, and I'm sorry. Again, I don't mean to be disrespectful. He stepped in there, but just don't fight if you don't want to fight. That's really the only option there. Fear, all that stuff, I understand. Just don't do it, and you won't have to look like he looked. HS, great win. He wants to keep doing this. Fair play. And then we get an announcement in the middle of a card. The return of Jay Swingler. Fun video package. They had him as an old man in his nursing home watching the highlights of a fight that he won, but a lot of people said that he lost or potentially drew with Nick LMAO on. I was one of the people that thought it should have gone the other way to Nick LMAO. But nevertheless, he wants to box again. So they hit the Undertaker music. And by the way, why is the Undertaker music used for everybody? Can we not get people a personalized like entrance thing? But I thought it was Pineda's thing. Now you're bastardizing the Undertaker. He gets in the ring. He's like, hey, I'm glad to be back. I want to fight again. I took some time off, but now I'm back. And where is Nick LMAO? And he takes Riley's arm and drags him over to the corner to call him out. And here comes Nick LMAO. And I'm pretty sure they actually got upset at each other after being like, yeah, let's fight. Started like swinging on each other and had to be separated. I don't know if that was all drama or if it was real. Who cares? I like the fight. Run it back. It's always good to have Jay Swingler in the influencer boxing scene. Big time creator, big time name, and a guy that's pretty talented at this stuff. So cool, he's back. Then you had your co-main event of the evening, a late notice addition to this card, Anthony Taylor versus Gabriel Silva. This is a fight that I picked Gabe in because I thought that we would see some high-level boxing, or at least higher-level boxing from Gabe Silva here, but it turns out the guy that was putting on some high-level display of boxing, and whatever you want to say about Anthony Taylor's style, whether you like it or not, he was giving you a variety of styles in this fight. Round 1 starts. He is at range. He's using his jab. He's throwing his overhands. He's landing big left hooks to start the fight. And the problem that ailed Gabe Silva the entirety of the fight was his low hands, his reactions to shots, the things that he saw versus the things he didn't see. Like, he had good defense when he saw punches coming. If he didn't see it, he was getting absolutely cracked with stuff. And then you saw a little bit of the stuff that you'd seen from AT against Kenny and others, where he would throw the right hand, get into clinch range. Then he'd start to work there, or he'd throw the right hand, clinch, separate, jab, right hand. He was giving you a lot of different varieties of things. And say what you want about Anthony Taylor's belonging and influencer, crossover boxing. There's not a guy that has taken advantage of more opportunities than him. And all you can say to that is respect, because what he did in this fight was even more respectable. Is that after the second round, I think we're in the third, he is starting to pour it on to Gabe Silva, and Gabe is looking a little bit taller, chin's a little bit higher, and at a certain point, boom, right hand through the guard, absolutely punctures Gabe Silva's chin, drops him there. And I don't remember if this got waved off after that or if this was a TKO stoppage by punches following up, but I think he pops back to his feet, gets going again, and then I think AT came in, followed through with more punches. Referee came in and stopped it. A TKO win in a fight that a lot of people did not think AT would win in the way he did. That's 2 wins in the matter of 2 months. I'm going to stop doubting him. I think everybody else should as well. Big time win. I think he called out Darren Till at the end of it, which, okay, yeah. Run that shit, I guess. Might as well. Those two make sense. Former MMA guys, Darren Till looking for a home at Misfits and trying to find a fight to get on board with. That's the one you do. Then we had our main event of the evening, and this one was the Danny Squared fight. Danny Aarons taking on Danny Simpson. This was YouTuber versus soccer player. Danny Aarons fighting against a guy that ruined his hopes and dreams in the Premier League. I'm going to keep doing it because I'm trying my best. Now, this became very quickly a fight that shocked me. While, yes, Danny Aarons had never fought, he had trained for a very long time. He had trained for almost 7 to 8 months compared to the 1 month of training from Danny Simpson. And I have seen that some athletes take better to the sport than others. You never really know who's going to have the crossover ability to translate their athleticism to boxing. Danny Simpson absolutely did. Now, he wasn't a great boxer, but he knew how to throw one punch, a right hand, and he knew how to turn that bitch over. He did so in this fight, and let's be honest, this main event was not technically sound. This was not a great, stylistically pleasing, aesthetically pleasing fight. Danny Aarons looked very raw, very green, did look like he had a bit of an adrenaline dump in the early part of the fight, maybe a little bit of nerves, very tight and rigid as well as a boxer, but he had, again, good technique with his hands, everything coming out straight for a taller guy, but chin up, head on the center line, and at some point in that first round, Danny Simpson catches him with a jab right hand, flush, on the button. Fair play to Aarons. He takes it, and that first round was pretty clear to me to Danny Simpson. Now, here is where I was a little confused. I thought this being a main event, it'd be a 5-round fight. Then, learning that there were only 2 minutes per round, I thought for sure we were going to have a 5-round fight. Turns out it was a 4-round fight with 2 minutes each, and you guys know how I feel about the 4-rounders. They're pretty commonplace in boxing. I just feel like you don't get a real opportunity to separate a fight in that short amount of time period, especially when you're going for 2 minutes, but these two are brand new, so I get it. Regardless, round 2, could have gone either way. I think if you had Danny Aarons winning this round, I don't know, but Danny Simpson, once again, was landing more of the damaging shots. Not a lot of stuff was landing between either guy. It was a little clunky, a little awkward. Both of them got wild at points. Danny Simpson was wild as hell, and he was throwing punches that I had never seen before in some cases. But yeah, there were moments where this thing got a little out of control, and we clinched and got back to it. When I look back, I remember round 2 being a bit of a, toss-up round, could have went either way. I think a lot of people scored it for Danny Simpson. I think Danny Aarons also had a potential way you could score it for him. Regardless, round 3, Danny Aarons comes alive. He's putting some stuff together. He's actually walking down Simpson. He's avoiding the right hand. This is where you probably saw the best round of boxing out of Danny Aarons. Again, 2 minutes. He didn't get a lot done there, but he definitely took that round. Round 4, another toss-up. A lot of people could go back and forth and say who won what round, why. You want Simpson? Okay, you thought he should have won 3-1. I get it. You say it's a draw because Danny Aarons wins the last 2. I also get that. What I don't get was when we got to our judge's decision, we had a 39-37 Simpson. Makes sense. 3-1 fight. I understand it. We had a 38-38. Again, makes sense. Potentially a draw. I can understand that. Then we had a 39-37 Aarons. I don't know if you could score 3 rounds to Danny Aarons. That one was a little bit like, But yes, that was the end of the fight. A little bit of a letdown to have a draw in the main event. And again, in hindsight, you can go back and play Monday morning quarterback and say, well, Dean and Fogarty should have been the main event, or AT and Gabe Silva should have been the main event, or Ben Williams. But again, it's not that easy to do when you're matchmaking ahead of time. I think that they wanted to get the biggest names on the card in that main event spot, and both the Dannies were the biggest names. But in the future, prioritizing guys, the people that come to your shows know, like the Dean the Greats, and like the Ben Williamses and all those. But a lot of people also knew Danny Aarons, so it is what it is. So if I were to give this card a grade, I am saying Misfits 17, I think close to the 2-year anniversary of Misfits 1, all the way back in 2022. I'm going to say B minus. No, a B. I would say this card is a B overall. Not because there was anything super wrong with it. Obviously, a bit of a letdown being a draw in the main event. Obviously, the referee butchering a stoppage call is not the promotion's fault. It doesn't mean that the card was necessarily bad because of those things, but I thought it was a good combination of familiar names while also not having the names that are familiar to this scene and trying to build some new people up. But it obviously wasn't the prime card. It obviously wasn't Misfits 4 or Misfits 1 or Misfits, anything that has KSI actually fighting involved with it, or even, to my this is just personally me. Misfits 2, W.A.D.E, great card, great main event. I think this one is right up there with some of those non-pay-per-views, but as far as the actual pay-per-views go, and people are going to be like, this is way too expensive, and got a point, $40, kind of crazy, but I think they delivered on what they wanted to do with this card, which is introduce you to HS Tiki Talk. Danny Aaron's Danny Simpson, maybe they run the rematch. Ben Williams, good-looking kid. Warren Spencer run that rematch. Mike Edwards, definitely somebody to pay attention to. Sammy Hamed, and of course, Dean the Great defending his title. It did what it was supposed to do. Because it was good, but room to improve, and I think that's the ultimate goal in influencer boxing anyway. But anyway, that's what I think. Misfits 17 is in the books. Let me know what you guys thought below. What did you grade it? What do you want to see next? Misfits 18, just around the corner. I think September 14th. I'll be live for that one. I'll be live for that. Canelo, Berlanga, and UFC 306 from Vegas, Airbnb style. I will see you guys then. More videos coming this week. I'm going to Florida tomorrow, so I had to get this done today. What happens next in influencer boxing? A lot of things being thrown out there, potential matchups. I don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.